What are some of the biggest outside forces that are presenting obstacles? Is it institutional resistance? Is there a corporate interest at play, a combination of both, or are there other factors that aren't being really spoken about? What is holding up this process?
Well, there are several layers to this, Rob. I mean that the one of the I would say start from the bottom and work our way up, so it'll get more exciting. But at the very base of this are the private aerospace corporations. They have been put into possession of some of these craft that have been captured, and that they've been assigned by contract, secret contract, to back engineer them, to analyze the technology and back engineer them. And they desperately want to get patents on this technology so that they would be in a position for the next 1,000 years of being able to license any of this technology to our United States government and make trillions of dollars over the next decades, right? And so that they're leaning in really heavily to keep this secret, to not require them to reveal that they've got the materials, and to not compromise their ability to get an independent patent on it, because it's all been funded by the secret funds of the government. Okay, so the base is the private aerospace corporations. But then you have the people in the military and in the intelligence community that have been actively engaged in bringing down these craft and putting them into the possession of the private aerospace corporations for reverse engineering into this weapons system. And the highest level military and intelligence officials are all planning to go to work for the aerospace corporation once they get their 20 years in. They get their 20 years in and they get full retirement benefits from the military or the intelligence community. And then they go to work, they get hired by these private aerospace corporations. So they have this inclination to ingratiate themselves to these corporations by giving them contracts and standing ready to go to work for them, and to bring with them all of their contacts and Rolodexes that they've developed, on the payroll of the United States government. So there's that element in the intelligence community and in the Defense Department, who are waiting to go to work for these private aerospace corporations. So there's that whole element. Then there are the full-scale career officers in the intelligence community and in the Defense Department who genuinely want to keep this secret because they believe that it is the penultimate weapons development policy for our United States military and intelligence community. They view that as their principal mission, to develop the military capacity of the country and keep a secret from our adversaries. So that there's that third element that is, if you could call it, a good faith kind of effort to protect the national security of the military program. Not that they're perceiving the UFOs as a threat, because they don't. There's no indication. There's no activity on the part of these people indicating that they believe this to be a viable threat. This was making Luis Elizondo be totally upset, because he said, "Look, I've got verified footage of a football size, field size craft coming right over the top of a major nuclear facility, like, and turning off all of the missiles." He said, "I view this as a national security threat." And yet the entire upper echelons of the United States military are not doing anything about it. That they're just like pretending it's not true. And when he was trying to find out why they were doing that, they end up stonewalling him. And that's why he quit. And so that's another whole layer, those people. And then you've got this extremely small group of people that are in charge of this entire secret program, that reside deep in the bowels of the national security state. That this is the number one secret of our entire national security state operations, right? And that they are devoted to keeping this completely secret, so that they can remain in complete monopoly control of what the policies are. Okay. And so, and that's a very ominous group, because they're willing to deploy lethal force to shut out not only adversaries, but American citizens and people that are in the government who are trying to get at this information because they have a constitutional obligation to do so. And they are being subjected to threats, of potential lethal force against them. And they're intimidating the senators, they're intimidating the members of the House of Representatives. And so that this tiny group, which they call the legacy group, is a major, they've now evolved into being a major federal criminal racketeering operation, threatening physical abuse to people who are witnesses, which is a federal crime, embezzling money from the other appropriations in the defense budget, lying to Congress, committing perjury. This is a list of predicate crimes that constitute a federal criminal racketeering operation. Okay, so then you've got that group. And then ultimately, and though this may come as a bit more of a surprise, you have the ET people themselves, who clearly are completely capable, if they choose to do so, to land on the White House lawn, or land in the middle of the ellipse, and say, look, here we are. Or they could undertake any kind of more subtle diplomatic processes to begin the process of letting everybody know that they're here, and what their agenda is, and what their interests are, and how we could accommodate them, or engage in good faith negotiations with them to establish a relationship with them, like we have between and among our nation states. So there's this multiple set of layers of the people that have a motive to stop the simple disclosure of all of this. And then there's one more final element that I'd have to point out. And there are those of the people who genuinely want the full disclosure, but that they genuinely understand that it has to be done in kind of a controlled process so that we can adjust our institutions. We can adjust our economic institutions, our geopolitical institutions, our religious institutions, that all of these major institutions in our academic universities, to figure out what courses need to be taught to adjust our people to this, that is an extraordinarily important element inside the national security state infrastructure, who are genuinely trying to set up a sound and responsible process by means of which this set of revelations can be made. And then I guess finally there's us, the citizens, who are desirous of getting this information out, because we genuinely believe that this will instigate major changes in our institutions that can cure a lot of the deficiencies that we see manifest in our institutions right now, because they think there's no reason not to act like they're acting. They don't seem to get it, that they're living under the constant threat of total thermonuclear destruction and the massive destruction of our global ecological systems through global climate change isn't a good result. How is this working right now? Of our institutions functioning the way they presently are, they're in dramatic need of reform. And if we can get them to reform pursuant to the need to get adjusted to the reality of the surrounding civilization that we're in the midst of, but not part of yet. Okay, so all of these factors go into trying to determine what it is that we're going to be doing. And so the New Paradigm Institute has been established to lead this operation. And we have other allied groups. There's the UAP Disclosure Fund. There's the Sol Foundation at Stanford. There are others that are involved, but the New Paradigm Institute is primarily the grassroots organizing, conscientizing, mobilizing operation that is going to do both things. One is to put the maximum pressure on the elected representatives to perform their constitutional responsibilities, but also reaching out directly to establish direct communication with the extraterrestrial beings, to establish what we refer to as citizen diplomacy, to reach out, establish communications with them. If the government is going to continue to lie to us and dissemble and lie and threaten Congress to keep them from doing this in a peaceful manner, what we have to do is take direct action and reach out to the beings themselves. We know how to do this. We can come together and go outdoors and sit in fields and summon them telepathically. This is all true. This is all true. This really works. And that we need to open up diplomatic channels to these people, because we cannot rely upon the national security state people who have the kind of extraordinarily narrow lens through which they're viewing this entire reality to determine what our policies are going to be with regard to these beings that are going to affect our human civilization for the next 10,000 years. And these decisions are going to be made right within the next 5 to 10 year period, because it's absolutely clear that we're going to be discovering life elsewhere. And as the Catholic Church has announced, back in 2009, November 11th of 2009, Pope Benedict, directed the director of the Pontifical Observatory to issue the statement asserting that now, in light of the discovery of more and more of these new exoplanets by the spaceborne telescopes that we have now, the James Webb and the Hubble and others, it's perfectly clear that we're going to discover life elsewhere in the universe. And so that the time has arrived now. The time is now to begin this all-important discussion of the profound philosophical and theological implications of knowing our real place in the universe as a species, but also in preparing our culture in our systems to accommodate this reality. So this is an extraordinarily exciting and important period in our human history, and people are privileged to be alive now while this is happening. And so that we're trying to figure out how to get the information to the people and realize that they're authorized now by the New York Times. They're authorized by Congress to do this instead of waiting for someone else to do it for us.